Hello, everyone. My guest today is Randy Wootton. He's the CEO of Percolate. He also has been a leader and strategic innovator in the marketing technology industry for over 20 years. Prior to Percolate, he served as CEO of leading predictive marketing platform Rocket Fuel, where he repositioned the company and led it to its sale. During his career, Randy has held senior positions at Microsoft and Salesforce. He's a graduate of Harvard Business School, St. John's College, and the U.S. Naval Academy. Randy, are you ready to take us to the top?
Sure, let's go.
All right, tell us about Percolate. What do you guys do, and what is your business model? Is it a pure play SaaS company?
Take the second one first. Yes, pure play SaaS company focused on Fortune 2000 companies that are struggling with the challenge that all marketers are facing. It's about how do you deliver on the promise of personalization? How do you get content to the right person at the right time and actually make marketing work better?
Yep, very good. And you joined the company, I believe you said in 2016, correct?
No, actually, I've only been here 6 months. So I came in 6 months ago to help them continue the evolution of the company from a social media management monitoring only solution into an enterprise software solution sold to the whole marketing organization. So Percolate, really well known for social media management capabilities. We're out there defining a new category called content marketing platforms.
Yep. Randy, put the company on a timeline for me. When did the company launch?
Yeah, sorry. This company started in 2011. So it's been around for about 7 years, and I joined 6 months ago.
Okay, so question for you: you have a lot of success, right? Why not go out and start your own thing from scratch? Why join Percolate?
It's a great question. I'm a grower, not a founder. What I do is I come in and help companies scale. So I'm a go-to-market guy, sales, service, and marketing. I like companies that are in this stage of often described as that Series C. You have product market fit, and now what you need to do is go activate in the marketplace. And so I'm probably just not smart enough to have an original idea. I come in and help get stuff done.
How did you learn that about yourself?
That's a great question. Background in the military, was a naval aviator. I like things moving fast and making quick decisions. And I think that coming out of business school, the types of problems I was interested in were the ones where the innovation was coming from collaboration around interesting ideas and scaling things through organizations versus being the guy sitting by myself and coming up with a big idea.
Yep. Now, did you come into the company with a round of funding? Were you basically an EIR at a VC firm, or?
No, I wasn't. We did secure some additional funding. As you can imagine, when you bring in a new CEO, it takes a little bit to define a new strategy, and then you want to have the funding to execute. I had left Rocket Fuel, took some time off, and went surfing in Costa Rica, did some yoga, tried to come in touch with myself. And then my wife got sick of me trying to get in touch with myself at home, so go get a job. But I was very deliberate in looking for a company at this stage focused on this problem. Lots of exciting opportunities out here, but I thought Percolate had made enough of the transition that I could be successful.
So I want to talk about capital real quick, and then we'll talk more about the story here. How much capital in the company's date?
So raised to date, $75 million.
Okay, all equity, or is there debt on the top of that?
Well, we have a line of debt that we run with Comerica, just like many companies do. We access it as a sort of working capital line versus a funding line.
Yep.
The equity last round was done in 2015. So, yep. Like most startups, you get a little money to go prove a thesis, and you execute 12 to 18 months, and you go get a little bit more money, and you keep going.
Randy, out of curiosity, because debt I know is just getting hotter, especially in a good economy, did you decide to do like revenue-based financing where you're paying back as a percentage of monthly revenue, or did you do like an MRR term loan where there's an interest rate for the first 12 months and interest and principal over, say, 4 to 6 years?
Wow, that's a really technical question.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I inherited the debt line that we had. It's an MRR debt line. The additional debt is a convert.
Okay, so you're not paying it as a percentage of gross receipts per month. It's a fixed interest rate.
It's fixed interest rate, yeah. And I was interested in your question, your assumption around the debt. What I found is, in having done this at Rocket Fuel as well with debt financing, is there are a bunch of banks that are just lined up with the VCs, the top VCs in the world, and they got these different deals that they do, and they invest in the portfolio, and you get good terms because you're a Sequoia backed, where like Sequoia, GGV, Lightspeed in first round. Those types of companies the banks want to do business with those companies. And so it's a matter of, I think capital structure is one of the most interesting things you have to think about as a CEO. And for early stage entrepreneurs, getting smart on that is really important because the price of capital, the cost of capital of debt versus equity and how much you take and when you take it, really different instruments and different expectations. And clearly something that people, CEOs, CFOs need to be thinking about all the time.
Yeah. Last question on the debt. Do they require that you keep, let's say that the debt vehicle was I'm making this up, a $10 million vehicle. Do they require you that you always keep 10 million liquid in the bank as long as you're accessing that vehicle, or no, or you don't know?
No. It's more of we can access up to our capacity. The capacity is determined by our MRR.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. Let's move on. So that's capital raise. Let's refocus back on the products. You said Fortune 200 is where you're focused at. Give me a general sense. Or you say Fortune 2000 or Fortune 200?
Fortune 2000. So it's enterprise software companies. We talk about brands such as MasterCard, Unilever, EA. We are working with some of the largest brands in the world because what we like is complexity. The problem we're solving is when there's a lot of products, a lot of channels, a lot of markets, and a lot of marketers trying to figure out what is the campaign they should be executing, how to have people build content and orchestrate that from a global centralized operation all the way down into local. So The problem we solve is primarily B2B, big enterprise type problems.
And Randy, I don't want to go down every cohort, but on average, what do these enterprises pay you per year? What's your average ACV, would you say?
Yeah, so we're north of 200,000 per year. What I would say is a lot of our contracts are TCV, so they're multiple year deals. Because what you find with these large enterprises is they run a robust partner RFP process, and they're looking for partners. And so if you make it all the way through and you get to the end, they often say, "Great, let's do a 3-year deal." They're also looking for preferred pricing if they make the commitment and that such. But it's very, very different than like a mid-mark high transaction sale.
Are they just committing to that via signature, or are you actually pulling 3 years of cash forward on day one?
It's a great question. I won't give you the exact number. I would say I'll tell you this, 95% of our deals are paid up front. A large percentage of them are paid annually on the contract date. Some are paid up front fully. So what's neat about this business versus when I was at Rocket Fuel, where we were having to buy inventory, chase agencies to get paid. They had to go chase advertisers to pay them. We were basically playing a bank to the agencies. In the pure SaaS model where you get paid up front, the more you grow, the more cash you have.
Yep.
So it's a wonderful working capital dynamic.
Especially if you figure a way to even take a fraction of your new sales, getting paid 2 years up front. I mean, the economics on that looks great.
And you also reduce churn. You also reduce overall cost of customer acquisition costs. So, bigger deals, longer terms, I will always go for those.
Yep. What have you scaled to now in terms of total customers you're working with?
We publicly talk about 600 brands.
Okay, got it. Now, are those all different companies, or those brands roll up to 100 like parent holding companies?
Great question. So you can imagine with a company like Unilever, they have multiple brands and we count it at the brand level. It really depends on how the company is structured. But I would say it's in the range of every company has a couple of brands.
Yeah. So maybe I'm going to make this up, 200 companies, and on average, they've got, call it 3 brands under them, something like that.
Yeah. I won't comment publicly, but you're in the order of magnitude. What I would say the opportunity for enterprise sales is, as you know, is when we go into a large company, you get in with one organization and the opportunity is to expand. And so enterprise sales is about landing the big logo, but it's the expansion. And especially for a workflow automation tool, its value is realized when you have the entire division, the entire marketing division working on it.
Yep. We can quantify this in terms of net revenue retention annually. So I assume, based off your incredible ability to drive expansion and your ability to pull cash flow, your net revenue retention, I'm imagining, is over 100% per year. Is that accurate?
Yeah, again, can't comment publicly. What I would say is that what we are focused on is large enterprise customers who are buying the new capability, the content marketing platform, and we have great net retention in that segment. There are some smaller, mid-sized customers that we have, as we've evolved the company, are working with, and we perhaps have more churn in that segment than you might expect.
What would we expect in the market? Don't talk about you, but on average in this market, what would we expect for churn?
Well, I think your general sense of enterprise software different than mid-market, right? So enterprise software, I think expectation of 80-90% retention is totally reasonable. It's long-term contracts. You're, as we said, you're making these big commitments. With the mid-market space, what you struggle with is
just to be clear, sorry, you putting yourself mid-market or enterprise?
No, we're enterprise.
Enterprise, yeah.
Yeah, we're enterprise. So in the mid-market space, what you struggle with is if you're selling a complicated enterprise solution with requires a lot of implementation, is people, they like the idea, they get into it, but then they can't fully commit to changing the way they're doing marketing. Or they can't support the ongoing change management required to enable it. So I think when you're Google and you're live in 5 with a search solution, like they probably have small, medium-sized business and mid-markets that use them all the time. When you're doing an enterprise software sale, trying to sell in the mid-market, it's just mismatched with what the mid-market buyer wants.
Yep. You mentioned CAC earlier. I don't want to know what your specific CAC is, but I'm actually more interested in how aggressive you're being on your payback periods based off what you raise. So are you happy considering your cash cushion to have and be patient for a 24-month payback, or do you try and stay below 6 months or a year or what?
Yeah, we look below 6 months on CAC. I would describe it as one of the areas where we're investing, coming in and pivoting and focusing on B2B marketing. More specifically, let me put it this way. There's a different way of running an enterprise software sales motion from what a mid-market play is. It's inbound leads, it's qualification, it's sales funnel. What I tell my team is enterprise sales is about focus, it's sales cylinder. So you identify the set of verticals you're going to go after, you build the set of playbooks, and you execute those very specifically against a target account list. You use tactics such as like account-based marketing. So you use events. So we do a lot of events, and people are welcome to come to our website and check it out to learn more, because we're creating a category and educating people, helping to educate people about the challenge and what's possible. That's a different deployment of capital under CAC than if you're doing mid-market, trying to drive leads and do the demand gen. So I think it's more around, again, all of your systems investments need to be aligned with your go-to-market strategy. We're going after enterprise customers.
Yep. Am I understanding that, Randy, correctly? No matter where the spend is going, generally speaking, on an average contract, at least first year of 200 grand, you're happy to spend 6 months of that. So say 100 grand on acquisition, whether that's a conference you're putting on or flying a salesperson out or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the ratio that you find, the magic number in the Valley is 3-to-1 LTV to CAC, right? So your lifetime value, 3x the CAC that you spend. And people will talk about you can spend up to then 30% to acquire that customer. So with someone who's with us for five years, spending $200,000 a year, right, that's $1 million lifetime value. You could spend a lot on CAC to get them. The challenge is they're few and far between, and you do spend a lot in terms of sophisticated sales motion with highly experienced AEs, BDR, solution consultants, a marketing plan. So again, your sales structure has to reinforce the sales strategy, which is about getting big accounts.
Yep. The trap I've seen a few CEOs that are your size, though, fall into is they have really healthy CAC to LTV ratios, but their churn is so low. They've argued that the time-based LTV is 7 or 8 years in some cases. So if you say your 8-year LTV, I'm going to make this up as $1 million, and you say I'm willing to spend 30% of that to acquire, so I'm willing to spend 300 grand, but it takes you 3 years to get that 300 grand back, even though the lifetime value pans out and it works. Some people can't afford to wait that long, which is why I tend to ask about payback period.
Yeah, no, I love that. I like the payback period. I think it's a great optic to use. We use it with our own SaaS metrics, and we have that exact conversation. Because part of it is you got to have the cash to fund enterprise sales motion.
That's right. What's your team look like today? How many people?
I don't think we're public about that. You can look on Crunchbase. You order of magnitude, a couple hundred.
Okay, good. Couple hundred. What I'm really curious about is I want to dive deeper on the inside sales folks. By the way, LinkedIn says 227 people. How many are dedicated to some kind of inside sales function?
So we have so we do inside sales. Interesting. I think of it as business development or sales development, and it's a percent of the sales team. I would tell you industry wide, what you find is about a 3-to-1 ratio in terms of 3 salespeople to 1 BDR. Is what's appropriate. Again, it depends on if you're doing a key account strategy. So the difference is if you have BDRs that are incented to just set up initial meetings, that's a different model than if you're trying to do an account-based strategy and you have your BDR setting up meetings all around the account because you're trying to do that key influencer and get the meetings in. That's a different type of engagement that you're doing, and that. But I think the ratio of 1 to 3 is probably right.
So, Randy, I want to just to be clear. You're saying you can have one BDR feed enough leads to fill up 3 sales reps' calendars.
But it's leads specific against a target account.
Got it. Targeting.
And yes.
Great.
That's right.
Very good. Last few questions before we wrap up. Growth rate. What are you growing at year over year? Generally speaking. Generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, we're in line with what you would expect from a VC-backed company.
High double digits, or are you over 100%?
No, less than 100%. High double. Up in that range though with the new business.
Good. So we'll call it between 50 and 100% year over year growth in terms of revenue. And then we can assume some minimums here, Randy, based on what you told me. So call it 200 like logos using you across maybe 600 brands. And you said earlier, ACV around 200 grand. I mean, so if I took 200 logos times a $200,000 ACV, it puts you at about 3 million per month, or about 40 million in terms of ARR run rate. I won't ask you to confirm the exact numbers, but generally speaking, am I in the range?
You can do the math.
Fair enough. How much time do you think you need to, get to the point where you're breaking and flirting with kind of the 100 million mark? Does it happen by 2020, you think?
I don't know. I mean, we are dependent upon getting the big deals and expanding them. I would tell you that I'm excited about the customers that we're working with, the traction we've gotten on the expansion. And so I think you can do the math on the calculated growth rate. Our goal is to grow as fast as possible, but responsibly, right?
Yep.
Getting the top line revenue with the investment behind it to drive a path towards profitability.
Yep. All right, let's wrap up here quick with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
Right now, Play Bigger. It's all about category definition, and I think it's a category of strategy. And when you're evolving and defining a category, it's been very powerful.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're currently following or studying?
That's a great question. Elon Musk.
Number 3, is there a favorite online tool you have for building your business?
Other than Salesforce?
Besides Salesforce, yeah.
No, I mean, we're doing more with LinkedIn, and I'm excited about it in terms of, again, if we're trying to engage with B2B marketers in developing a community of people in education, I do think LinkedIn is probably on social our most valuable engagement tool at this time.
LinkedIn. Number 4, how many hours of sleep are you getting every night, Randy?
6.
That's good. And what's your situation? Well, actually, I think you mentioned married, but what's your situation? Married, single, kids?
Married, 2 kids, 11 and 13, cute little boys. Never see enough of them, but very excited to be at the stage of my life.
Good. And how old are you, Randy?
50.
50. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Well, my 20-year-old self was in the military. So 20-year-old self, I'll give you a quick story. So in the military, there's a saying like lead follower, get out of the way. It's very clear about who's going to make the decision. And I don't care. It's your decision. Great. We're going to go take that hill, but you're going to go lead it. In the corporate sector, the big thing I had to learn, it took me a while, was it's lead follower. Let's talk about it. And you spend all this time in meetings with people just talking about things. And it just drove me nuts when I first got into the corporate sector. Was like, what? It's clear there's a decision to be made here. Who's going to make the decision? And so I think to the 20-year-old self, it would be recognize that you're going to have to do some evolution of operating pace when you go into the corporate sector.
Guys, there you have it. There's a little bit more kind of, what do you think? Let me make sure your feelings are good. Support your decision. Give me an updated report. A little bit different than the military. Randy is obviously adopting well. Maybe if his wife didn't get sick of him surfing and doing yoga at home in the middle of the living room, he'd still be home doing yoga in the middle of the living room. But he's not. He joined Percolate after a search, and he said, you know what? This is a company I want to be with. Joined them just 6 months ago. Founded in 2011, the ultimate marketing machine. They're serving about 200 logos across 600 brands, 75 million bucks raised, growing between 50 and 100% year over year. Somewhere, we'll say it, somewhere in the kind of $40 million ARR run rate range. Again, retention metrics generally in line with industry. Payback period, they try to stay below 6 months with a team of around, call it 200, 300 people. Randy, thank you so much for taking us to the top.
Yeah, right on. Have a great day.